Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome inside the Guilty as Charged podcast. My name is Steven. I am your host. Here to talk about some free agency moves. Obviously, the Chargers weren't super active today, but we'll talk about everything that they did do over the last couple of days and kind of what happened around the league. So, joining me today are my guys Tyler and Arjun. Alex is unavailable for this evening, so it's just the three of us. Arjun, that being said, how you doing, man?
Doing great. I'm excited to just talk about what went on today for the Chargers and what went on throughout the league. So excited to be back.
Yeah, it was a crazy day for the league. Obviously, Chargers, like I said, not super active, but we'll still have lots to talk about. So, Tyler is here as well. Tyler, how you doing, man?
Doing very well. I've decided I'm going to become a long snapper and try out for the Chargers so I can get some long-term security and big bonuses and big money. I won't say exactly what, but Arjun has been very, very busy. It's very exciting stuff that I'm sure he can't talk about, but really cool stuff. So Arjun, congratulations.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, Arjun's crushing it over here. So, yeah, I have to say the long snappers, man. Like, I was our team's long snapper back in the day. Our coach really didn't believe in punting or kicking field goals all that much, so it was never really used. But kind of wish I would have stuck with that, man.
Should have stuck with it, man.
Should have stuck with it for sure. Obviously, the Chargers signed Josh Harris from the Falcons, Pro Bowl long snapper. Somebody asked me for a film breakdown. I know it was kind of a joke, but he's a Pro Bowler, I guess. That's really all I know. So I want to talk about really kind of what happened around the league because, you know, a couple hours ago, Von Miller gets the 6-year deal. I know there's going to be like probably 3 void years or whatever have you, but Raiders get Chandler Jones. So all these teams, of course, loading up on pass rushers that, of course, will affect the Chargers at some point. Now within the division, you have the Broncos with Rennie Gregory and Bradley Chubb, the Raiders with Max Crosby and Chandler Jones, and then whatever the hell the Chiefs do outside of Chris Jones. So lots to talk about there. And of course, that leaves the Chargers with a much bigger hole at right tackle than we had previously kind of anticipated in this division. Morgan Moses, of course, signing with the Baltimore Ravens. So there's that one hurt, man. That one really did hurt because Morgan Moses has like a $2.5 million cap hit this year. Which I absolutely would have done. Again, there's always things that go into these decisions, right? Like maybe he wanted to stay on the East Coast or whatever. But the Chargers right tackle solutions are drying up. So Tyler, what do you kind of make of that? Really what happened around the league in the AFC West and how the Chargers can kind of solve that right tackle position?
I want to just trade myself and the entire team into the NFC because holy
Right?
cow, like the Bills. I mean, everyone is just loading up right now on talent. And unfortunately, the AFC West, we've already talked about it. It's ridiculous. The rest of the AFC is going to be ridiculous. It is nice that the Chargers are beginning their window, so they don't have to do everything right now to beat the Bills and the Chiefs right now. Like they do have 3 years, obviously more, but they do have a nice 3-year window to get this done. So you don't have to completely panic. But boy, the right tackle situation right now. First of all, we were barely sure that Brian Bulaga was going to be cut. Like we were sure, but we were that clock was ticking down, and we got a little bit worried. He was cut, and now we're hearing that they're high on Trey Pipkins, which they've said before. But again, it wouldn't surprise me to see him, compete with a 3rd-round pick for a spot at this point. If with Morgan Moses gone and nothing really else out there, they kind of have to go with right tackle at 17 unless they find a way to trade or some sort of miracle happens where there's a post-draft cut or something or a cut we don't anticipate. But they're kind of stuck with right tackle. Like this is what I didn't want to happen. I didn't want them to get stuck with right tackle at 17. And that's basically what they're stuck with right now. Otherwise, it's Trey Pipkins and a 3rd-round pick for starting for the right tackle spot and Storm Norton. He's got tendered, but come on. So they're stuck. Like they need to do something, even if it's Dennis Kelly, who I admit was not a long-term solution, not even really a 2-year solution, but they have to do something because the idea of like, I don't know, David Ojabo being on the board at 17 and they have to take Bernhard Raymond because they don't have a right tackle and there's nothing better out there and they just can't start Trey Pipkins. That's an awful situation. So they got to figure out something very quickly, trade, sign, restructure this person to go get another person or whatever, because it's going to get really ugly. And the Chargers are facing very good pass rushers, which they already were. And we saw that affect them so much last year. And now it's just going to get worse in the AFC.
Yeah, I had to laugh because Field Yates was like, "Oh, the AFC West, like you need a right tackle now," and it's like, no, you always have needed both tackles, man. Like every team
Yeah.
that goes into a long playoff run needs two quality tackles. Like, it's not like the Chiefs just had Eric Fisher; they also had Mitchell Schwartz. You know what I mean? So, the teams, really every team, you need two quality tackles, and I think if you do, that's such a huge advantage. So, now with you facing all these pass rushers twice a year, like you have to be aggressive to fix this solution. You can't wait until next year to try and find your long-term guy. So, there's a couple comments in here about Darrell Williams that, of course, would be preferable to several options out there. I think he's a quality tackle. I think Billy Turner is a fine option. Dennis Kelly's a fine option, but you can't just go into the draft and be like, okay, well, we're just going to wait and see what happens. You know, I would even prefer to take Jordan Davis over Bernard Raven, man. That's how bad that I don't think he's ready, and I'm not really interested in drafting a right tackle who's a 25-year-old project. Trevor Penny's not going to be there. He's getting legitimate top 10 buzz right now. So the draft really is just not a solution for me. So they need some flexibility desperately at that position. Mentioned a couple names, like I said, Billy Turner. We know that they love the former Green Bay Packers offensive lineman. I wouldn't be opposed there. Scott Questenberry, who just signed with the Houston Texans, his brother plays right tackle. So those are really those solutions out there. And then La'el Collins is really kind of the best one, on the market. Of course, you probably have to trade for him, but man, the right tackle position right now it's bleak.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think the point that you just can't go into the draft with this huge hole at right tackle. You're not even picking high end. I know 17 to 13 isn't that big of a jump, but there are some size, some teams who could jump up and take a tackle within that top 17. And you don't want to be in a situation where you have Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave, and like you said, Bernard Raymond, and you're stuck to take best player available at a position of need. You don't want that in the first round. That's how you get stuck with reaches, and that's ultimately where you'll see some sunk cost fallacies with the draft. And it's not where you want to be. So like I said, like Steven said, cheap option. You could trade for La'el Collins. I really don't know what his trade value is worth. I don't think he's worth a third. If they throw a fourth for him, I mean, that's still pretty good. I understand he's still kind of young, but with him, you're putting him in a new scheme. But out of all the tackles, I would say he fits the Chargers scheme the best, especially the run scheme, because the Cowboys and the Chargers ran almost an equal percentage of inside, outside zone, and man run concepts. So
yeah.
They do have to fill that hole at some point, but I am confident that it is part of their priority. Staley wants to be a trenches team. There's no way in hell he's going to training camp with Storm Norton, or at least the draft with Storm Norton at right tackle.
Yeah, I know everybody was reacting strongly to Storm Norton getting tendered yesterday. I expect him to be a training camp body. To me, this still the most likely solution or outcome here is that you sign one of these veterans. Maybe you still trade for La'el Collins, and then you draft another development, right tackle. Very similar solution like they did last year with Ode Abushi and Brendan Hymus. So I expect them to make a move, right? They're not going to just go run it back with Storm Norton and then or see what you have in Trey Pipkins. I just don't see that happening, especially with all these pass rushers coming into the AFC West. So I mean, Storm was basically free. He's $890,000 for this season. So you might as well keep him for depth and then, see what you get in terms of a competition again in the fall. So I don't know, man. It's bleak. I think Billy Turner is certainly an upgrade, but then you're kind of wading into the no man's land. Well, what if the third round pick or whatever that you draft also just kind of doesn't have it? Then next year you're back on this same table where you have to get a right tackle of the future again. So, I mean, I hate to rain on everybody's parade. Today was a really good day. I mean, the Khalil Mack became official and everything, but the future of right tackle is concerning to me.
Yeah, I think the best thing you have to do, I think that you can do, if you really want to fix the problem and not just Dennis Kelly, which is a stopgap. You really want to fix it. And you really want to get Collins. then just like the whole theme of the last 2 years, Telesco has to do something that he has not done. And it's not trade for Collins. He will have to trade for him. But after that, trade back. You have to trade back. Like there are options, scenarios, look them. With the Saints, you get their like third or whatever. And with this team, the Steelers, you get their fourth. With the Lions, trade back to 32 and get both their third round picks. Whatever you give up in that trade for Collins, get it back with a trade back immediately. Because now you have corner, edge, and right tackle figured out. Go get a wide receiver at 32. I don't care. Go get Christian Watson at 32. Go get George Pickens at 32. Whatever you want. I think that's just the way they have to go. Like if they actually want to solve it, if Collins is available for even a third round pick, even a second round pick next year, I don't care. Trade back, right? Go back to 32 or give up a pick next year, whatever. Get it done. Because they're out of options. Like the options are basically off the table. It was a very small market as is. And now at 17, they're just stuck with So, they got. I'm on board with the Collins thing. I wasn't before as much because I figured they could find, some other way to solve it. But it just, I don't know, man. The AFC West, the AFC is looking too tough now. You got to get a second legitimate tackle.
Yeah, and I see what you're saying earlier, right? Like the timeline necessarily isn't like Super Bowl or bust this year specifically, but at some point in the playoffs, once you get there, you are going to have a quality right tackle to go up against all these guys, right? Like it's not just the division now. I mean, now you have the Buffalo Bills, who were the number 1 team in the league in pressure rate, and they just added Von Miller. And, it's just like down the list, right? Like, what if you have a rematch with the Broncos in the playoffs? What if you have a rematch with the Raiders in the playoffs? So, not to say the Raiders will get there, but, you have all these great pass rushers in the AFC. Everybody, in terms of quarterbacks and pass rushers, is leaving the NFC and then all come to the AFC. So, at some point, you have to have a quality right tackle. I think the Chargers can survive a season with Billy Turner or Dennis Kelly at right tackle. But when you get into those playoff games and every single matchup matters, then you go up against these teams with 2 quality pass rushers. That's a huge advantage. So, somebody saying about Darrell Williams again, like I feel like that's probably not as clean of a scheme fit, but honestly, like anything, I was kind of joking about trading a future first round pick for Lyle Collins, but honestly, man, like go be aggressive, go make that move happen. I don't think it will cost a first round pick, but I mean, what are the chances of a first round pick turning into a better player than Collins? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like, yeah, sorry, Tyler.
No, I had nothing valuable to say.
I mean, look, I know where Steven's coming from with the first round pick. I mean, look, he's not worth a first rounder, if we're being honest. I understand where you're coming from. Right. I would make, like, based on what they have been doing, aggressive, like, and their aggressiveness level in the free agent and trade market. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they flipped a 4th like next year for him, or they flipped their 4th this year. I mean, they have a boatload of picks. They don't, like, not all of them are probably going to make the roster. So, like, it's not the worst thing in the world to flip a 4th or even like a 3rd next year or something for Lyle to shore up a problem that is going to get exposed. I mean, we all knew the right tackle situation was going to get exposed when Bulaga went down. And like, even when Bulaga was healthy, I mean, there was no guarantee that he was going to be good again. So there's no way I see Staley heading into the draft with Storm Norton atop the depth chart. I'm just curious to see what their priorities are now, given that, like, okay, the first wave of free agents is done, the second waves and all the big names are gone, and like now the Chargers still have a decent amount of cap space. Now what do they do? I think that's the interesting part going forward.
Yeah, so a couple of people mentioning the off-field things with Lyle Collins. I mean, I don't necessarily hold what happened last year with like the drug test or whatever, which he said was kind of BS about him missing games or him having a false PED test. I mean, I don't think that's something that really qualifies for like an off-field concern.
Yeah, it's tough to say how this franchise. I do think they're more lenient moving forward, but I do want to see not that I want to see them take more guys with off the field issues or concerns, but like,
right.
I want to see a couple more before I realize it's like a pattern. I do think they're open to these certain things, but I do like that in particular seems a little bit more extreme, I guess, because it seems like a repeat thing. or there's a couple of things. What made him fall in the draft?
Oh,
He was
that
supposed
I
to be like a
don't
first
know.
round pick, and he fell to like the 5th or 6th.
No,
That I
Someone in the
don't
chat
know.
knows.
But I mean, so before this season, he played in 16 games 3 years in a row. So somebody said that he was always injured or always out, or Brian Bulaga 2.0. I mean, up until the suspension last year, he had played all 16 games 3 years in a row. So don't really know where that came from.
I love when he just dunked.
You okay, Arjun?
No, you just dunked on him. Like perfect.
The heck? Okay. Interesting.
So do we want to talk about how Josh
Whoa.
Harris, what happened?
Collins was under murder accusations. What? Is that
I'm
real?
gonna go on a limb and say he was not guilty.
Obviously. Or else he'd be in prison right now.
Well, there are plenty of people. So yeah, okay, interesting. I mean, don't laugh, Tyler.
Yeah. So do we want to talk about how the Chargers reset the long snapper market?
Is that a thing? They reset it?
Yeah, you didn't know?
I mean, I saw the contract. I mean, I don't know.
Josh Harris is currently number 1 in APY among all long snappers and number 1 in total guarantees among all long snappers. What the hell? Like, how does that contract even come? Like, how does that make it to the war room? Like, how does a long snapper resetting the market make it to Ed McGuire and Tom Telesco's like desk? I'm confused.
Oh, you're
Yeah,
right.
people are upset about them signing, like, it's just in general going after a long snapper, and it's like, that's not they need one. Like, you do need to pay one.
Yeah,
But
the worst thing.
Yes, I mean, it's interesting that they would go after. First of all, there's a whole different Falcon special teamer I would love to have for a multi-year deal, but unfortunately, they went after the. That I would have completely paid whatever for, but I don't know. It is nice for them to have some long, like, of all the things to go after, like.
Yeah, I know.
What makes someone a Pro Bowl long snapper? Like, does anybody
gosh.
know?
I didn't realize he was 33.
Collins?
Josh
The long
Harris.
snapper.
He's 33. Yeah.
So he's 20 years younger than Overton?
Was Overton? He was 39, right?
Yeah, he was like late 30s.
Look, as long as we don't have any more blocked punts this season, like he'll be worth it. It's only like the difference
Does he
is like
contribute to that?
Overton
I
did,
mean,
yeah. Overton was one on the blocks, yeah.
The older guys do, I'm
Oh.
pretty sure, right?
Interesting.
But
I don't know. But it is nice for them to have guys for a steady period of time. Again, them going after a Pro Bowl long snapper is strange, but you have him, Neiman, all 3 years, Rump for 3 years, Hopkins for 3, the long snapper for 4, probably get punter for another 4. So, yay, stable special teams, I guess. Hey, is Josh Jacobs moving? What's the scoop with that?
I think he's just changing his number.
Oh,
he's changing his number.
I think just going back to his roots. Raiders fans, don't be mad. Like, it's not asking for a trade or anything. And you know how
that?
Yeah, he just said like, I'm going back to my roots. Like, I mean, people were assuming trade and but it doesn't make sense. Like, McDaniels comes from the Patriots. Patriots love Alabama running backs. So
yeah,
that is very true. Okay, so Overton is going to be 37 in July. Josh Harris will be 37 at the end of this contract, I think, if I'm reading this correctly. So what's his actual cap hit? Do we know yet?
Like,
I have it on a tweet. Well,
it's
hold on.
1.3 or something. Around
I
that.
like we got long snapper details before we got Sebastian Joseph Day and Austin Johnson details.
So I can read what Aaron Wilson wrote. I don't know how the contract is structured, but it says Josh Harris's Chargers deal 4 years, $5.6 million, salaries $1.12 million guaranteed, and then the 4 years are $1.165, $1.21, $1.255, then $800,000 signing bonus. 1.92 million total guaranteed. Is it
Okay,
4
so
years?
over the cap
1, 2, 3.
has
1.12.
yeah, over the cap has his cap hit up, and it's $1.3 million for this year.
Sure.
So
It's not.
he
Yeah,
has
it's
the
not
same
bad.
cap hit. He has the same cap hit as Trey Pipkins, for what it's worth.
And then
Just throwing that out there.
yeah, Chase Daniel with the same cap hit as Morgan Moses this year.
Yeah,
It's
oh
like,
my
it's
god,
not entirely his fault. Like, you do have to pay your backup quarterback, but like,
yeah.
ugh.
Is that official yet? Do we have his cap hit right now?
I think he's just 1 for 2.5, right, or something like that.
Yeah, it's like 2.25.
But he would have.
I think.
It would be like bonus. Like it would be incentivized, right? It wouldn't be a 2.5 all guaranteed, right?
Probably not. I mean, reporters do an awful job of tweeting about contracts. So like whatever they send is like it doesn't really, never really adds up. For being honest.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's going to be interesting. I mean Ryan Ficken, we knew that he was going to be heavily involved in the roster construction. So, he gets Dustin Hopkins on an extension. Now he gets the long snapper of his choice, I guess. Maybe he values long snappers a little bit more. I don't really know how that works, but we'll have to see. I do have to say, shout out to Matt Overton handling it like a true pro, tweeting about them. Definitely did not have to do that, and good on Tom Telesco for reaching out to him as well. So definitely shout out to Matt Overton.
Definitely. So everyone that's been on our show is still with the team except Overton. So we'll see with Ibushi to see what our hit rate is. Right. Parham. Anderson. We'll see with Anderson.
Yeah. Guyton. Here we go.
Guyton. There you go.
Gak bump. He was the OG Gak bump in terms of statistics. We got the Gak bump for Anderson in terms of a larger role, but Guyton was the first one for bigger stats. So lots of people talking about this in the chat, so I figured we can discuss this as well. I think Pedro was the first one to ask it. If not, I'm sorry for whoever was. But he asked, what if Staley plans to move Filer to right tackle and Hymas to left guard? So I think this was certainly an option that they discussed when they signed Matt Filer. And, there was some talk, particularly by like Brandon Thorne and Robert Mays, that Filer was better at right tackle than guard and things like that. But I think Filer had a very, very good season at guard. And I also think that the team pretty clearly wants him to stay at guard. I think if they really wanted to shift Matt Filer to tackle, it would have happened. Like they went through 3 right tackles and they didn't switch Matt Filer over there. So I feel like if your intention for Matt Filer was to sign him and have him be like the right tackle of the future or whatever, then that move probably would have happened as soon as Brian Bulaga went down, right?
No, I completely agree, because while you want to keep everyone's working together, he's used to Slater, he's used to Lindsley, but you have the whole season ahead of you. So it would take some adjustment. By the time you get to midway through the season, it should be no problem. I would at least hope for someone who has been a right tackle and is a veteran. So yeah, that would have been it. I mean, I think either Staley or Telesco or someone came out and said as much, like that's an option for us if it comes down to it, but that's not our first option. And with basically the same group of guys outside of Questenberry, which shouldn't have changed anything, I think that's going to be the same case moving forward. Hymas is the interesting one for me, because them letting go of Questenberry, I personally think Questenberry probably thought he had a better shot to eventually start anywhere else than with the Chargers behind Corey Lindsley.
Sure.
So, he's allowed to go wherever he wants. That's what he wanted to do. So that he picked the Texans because they're a winning team. They beat the Chargers anyway. He wanted
his brother's there, right? Isn't his brother like the fullback or the long snapper there?
Oh, there's another one?
Yeah, there's 3.
Oh, geez. I don't know. But Hymas, again, I always go back to what you pointed out, Steven. We were sitting in the stands, like Hymas was taking snaps at center, and I think they just needed a body to snap to stick or whoever it was, but like he was there as a center snapping. I don't recall him doing it during like 7-on-7s or warm-ups. It was just like the snap to exchange or whatever.
Yeah, so I mean, like they always send out all the quarterbacks at once. They all and all the centers,
Mm.
right? And they all do their warm up thing. And so that's when Hymus was doing that. And then even with the position drills, he was still working with the centers. He was kind of flipping back and forth between centers and guards. So maybe they kind of view him as like this utility player. Maybe he is the backup center. I do agree that this is going to be something that's very interesting to keep an eye on because, Staley, I think, outright said when they and he was asked about not playing Hymus after Matt Filer was injured for that one game. He pretty much said, like, we don't think he's ready yet. We think he's a guard. And that's why they played Senor Clemente instead of him, which is still a disaster decision, in my opinion. But I don't know. That's definitely gonna be something to keep an eye on throughout the offseason to see if they sign a center. Obviously, we'll get that, or if they draft a center, we'll get that answer. But I mean, it doesn't hurt Hymus's ability or value if he can also be a quality center.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious what they'll do. I mean, I guess they could bring Schofield back and have Hymus as a backup center or both or whatever. I guess that wouldn't be the worst interior depth ever. Still odd, though. I'd like them to go get an official center. I mean, this guy was playing right tackle, then guard, then left guard, then center. Like, I'm glad you can do everything. That's great. But, I guess we can take Kenyon Green in the first round or something. But or Zion Johnson. I don't know. But it's so weird. I'm bummed.
I'd rather do that than do with Bernard Raymond, man.
Yeah, Kenyon Green would not be that bad. I don't know. I just hate the fact that they have their first round pick, which they might have to burn on a lineman. And their next pick's not to the third round, which they probably are like, I don't know, wide receiver, corner. I mean, I could see him going linebacker, unfortunately, because that's Telesco finds a way in the third round, tight end. So now you're getting to the fourth, fifth round, and there's your backup center, where you could have just had Questenberry. And again, Questenberry could have gone wherever, but it's like you just keep having that. We're forcing ourselves again to draft another lineman here, which isn't the worst thing, but I want them to be able to, get best player available. And if they have to go Penning in the first, a backup center in the fourth or fifth, like another Hymus, then you're already using two of your premium picks. That's kind of a bummer that he left.
Arjun, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think center is probably a tough position to like transition from college to the NFL.
It is.
I mean, Corey Lindsey.
Hymus never played center in college. Hymus was a tackle in college, so
that makes it even tougher. But like, and Lindsley's one of the best in the business. Like, I'm sure he'd be a great mentor. But like, if you have a rookie center in, does that mean Justin Herbert's calling out the pass protections? Because did Justin Herbert call out the pass pros when Feeney was center in his rookie year?
I think it was Feeney.
Okay, well, I think Herbert would do a better job than Feeney.
100%.
So if you have the rookie, if you have the rookie center, and then Herbert's the one probably calling the pass pros and everything, like he's smart enough. Like I think he'll pick it up. He can pick it up at some point in his career, especially when Lindsley has to leave. But yeah, that's definitely a situation where like you'd want Q to be back on like a really cheap deal. But I mean, I'm not gonna say why he might not start in Houston, but I don't know what their center situation is there. Maybe we can talk about it off stream, but yeah, obviously like sucks to see him go, but I'll tell you guys later.
All right. We got Arjun Menster over here with all the scoops going on. So yeah. All right, we'll move on. We have a question from Hermdogger21 super chat question. Hooper at tight end overpriced. So obviously the Browns did release him. The Chargers did tender Donald Parham, and I had kind of figured and pieced together that the team would want to have a veteran tight end in front of Parham and McKitty, and either replacing Jared Cook, and that could have that slot flexibility that they seem to like. So Hooper could certainly fit what they want. I don't really know what he's going to be projected to cost at this point. Certainly did not live up to the contract that Cleveland signed him to when they made him, I think, like the third highest paid tight end in the league. So Arjun, I'll start with you here. What are your thoughts on the Chargers signing Austin Hooper?
I mean, it would have to be for the right. Yeah, it'd have to be for the right price. And whatever Jared Cook got last year, I mean, he kind of lived up to the contract we paid him to. Obviously, it would have been nice for him to hold on to a couple more balls and like finish his routes now and then. But I mean, Hooper's not like a bottom barrel tight end. Like he's a top like 20 tight end. I think that's fair to say. But it would have to be for the right price. And like Browns ran I'm pretty sure, wide zone heavy scheme. Chargers are primarily zone, outside mixed with inside. So like he would have experience in the run scheme. I'm not too sure if he's athletic enough to like kind of be like a diverse tight end in the tight end room, because like Anderson's the do it all. McKitty's more of the Y. Parham, obviously the receiving guy, and like Cook was the athletic guy. I don't think Hooper fills Cook's role. Maybe they carve out a new role for Hooper, but it would have to be at the right price. And like I don't know if there is a good price for the Chargers to pay. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm curious what Everett is going to command at this point. I'm curious what like Hooper would obviously command. Howard, did they announce what his deal was yet?
It's like 3.5. Yeah. Incentives up to 5.
Really? He signed 1 for 3.5, incentives up to 5.
I'm pretty sure. I think that's
that's really inexpensive. Interesting. So like I know Uzama got less than I would have expected, but Howard getting that little is interesting.
Wait, you thought Uzama was gonna get? You thought Uzama was gonna get more than 8? Sorry.
So because everyone else got tagged and like everyone got like, I guess no one knew because there was no new deals, but like everyone like Schultz, Njoku, Gesicki, they're all like 12 million or something like that. And so I figured Uzama wouldn't come down like so much lower at, I think it was like 7.5 APY or 8 million APY, whatever it was. But wow, Howard that low, I didn't expect that. But to me, like looking over the stats, I know that's not everything, but I'm not going to look at the film until I see the player join the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's right next to Jared Cook in drop rate. He's, I think, below him in yards after the catch. I think he had like 3 missed tackles forced last year. Like to me, just if Hooper's going to ask for a good chunk of money, hate to say it, I'd rather just go back to Jared Cook at that point. Like there's nothing there statistically that's like, oh man, he's there. Whereas like, okay, Gerald Everett, top 5 in drop rate being a good thing, pretty solid yards after the catch, a coaching connection, sure, but that's probably a little bit more pricey. But I'd rather just spend a tiny bit more for that than go for Hooper and just end up kind of with Jared Cook again, possibly, and not really sure that you can move him the same way.
And so it looks like we had Alex in the chat here earlier. I don't know if he's still in here, but he said, hold on to balls, LMAO.
Whatever you are into, Alex. That's why he couldn't be here.
But yeah, I don't really necessarily see it being as an upgrade. I think Austin Hooper is kind of fizzled out in the league. He could certainly get another deal, but I think at this point I would just prefer Gerald Everett or a rookie. Like I think a rookie obviously much more cost effective, but I don't know, man. Like I just got the vibe from Tom Telesco's press conference that they would be interested in the veteran market. And then, of course, that was before all of the tight ends got franchise tagged. And then, we had the Panthers guy get, $6 million or whatever. So maybe he just kind of turned on the market, but we'll have to see. I do think that whatever happens, like I think Donald Parham is going to take a step forward in terms of his passing role. I think Trey McKitty is very capable in that regard as well. So maybe not necessarily a huge need. Maybe that can kind of afford them some flexibility to draft another guy. But it is going to be interesting because you presumably have like 4 spots that you want there. Like Arjun was saying, so you have kind of your big slot receiver, your hybrid of everything in Donald Parham, your F tight end that they call in Trey McKitty, and then your H-back hybrid. So in Steven Anderson, who might be back, might not be back. So it is going to be interesting to see what they do in this position. They seemingly want 2 more bodies there. I don't know. There's not really many options outside of Gerald Everett that I'm interested in adding in terms of free agency.
I joked Kyle Rudolph, but at this point they're almost down to it. I think they have to drop one at this point. Like they just find a receiving.
Sure.
He sucks. He sucks at blocking, but find a receiving weapon in the draft you can use for some sort of juice as some sort of pass catcher. Even if he sucks at blocking, Doesn't matter. That's what you have 2 other tight ends for. So round 4, round 5, find a guy who just catches. Who's the converted quarterback who is tearing up the Shrine Bowl? Go get that guy. I don't know where he's supposed to go in the draft, but go get him.
Is that Woods? Jelani
No,
Woods?
is it? I don't remember it being Woods. Is there film on Jelani Woods?
I have not looked at tight end film yet. No.
Okay, if there's film on Jelani Woods, it's not him. Brett Coleman says there's no film on him.
Okay.
Would you trade a first for Mark Andrews? Huh?
A first for Mark Andrews? I mean, a first, I think there are very few players in the league that are actually worth a first round pick. And I think Mark Andrews is a fantastic player, but no. And the Ravens are not trading him. Mark Andrews is target number 1 in Baltimore. So Tebow. No, I think in terms of the tight ends, like the best course of action, like Tyler is alluding to here, is re-sign Steven Anderson to have that H-back role taken care of, and then draft Dulcich or Jelani Woods or somebody like that to be that receiving tight end. And so somebody asked about Gabe Neighbors. He's not a free agent, but again, there's no point in keeping him around if Steven Anderson is also around. Like that just, it wasted a roster spot all season long and made no sense to me ever.
A certain defensive back is not coming to the Chargers. I'll say that much.
Huh?
I'll send it to you in the private chat.
Okay. Whatever.
Ooh.
There was something else I wanted to talk about. So, all right, let me look at this private chat really quick.
Oh, that's Archie can't see it.
No, I can. I got
expect it. Oh, you can.
That's what I expected. Also, when you said it, so.
Right.
Someone said Gabe Neighbors got paid $1 million to eat Herbert's brisket. I mean, being friends with the quarterback is
that's
very important.
Okay, no, fuck it. I got it off my chest. Not the DB thing. I was okay. You know how I love Bobby Holly, right? And we all love Bobby Holly because that was an amazing thing. Arjun, you can probably think you completely missed that part of our lives. But boy, dude, he was so good. And I heard just having conversations that he was destroying people in practice. That he's a legitimate, amazing fullback, and they cut him for Brisket Boy. I'm so mad. Apparently, he was legit. Freaking A,
What's
man.
so confusing about the whole Gabe Neighbors Bobby Holly thing is that like Bobby Holly 100% was an Anthony Lynn fullback.
Yes.
Gabe Neighbors is like your fullback that the Chargers kind of want to use, like your H-back tight end fullback hybrid kind of guy. Mm-hmm. And so I never really got that decision. Again, this is bringing up old feelings, but I never understood why Anthony Lynn would not want to keep Bobby Holly around. Like that seemed like 100% his guy. We heard from, unfortunately, that was not a training camp that we could attend, right? Because of COVID. But, are we talking down on versatile Pro Bowl alternate Gabe Neighbors? I forgot he was a Pro Bowl alternate, man. It's crazy talk. But even Daniel Popper said that Bobby Holly and Denzel Perryman like had these crazy good one-on-one reps against each other, and Holly and had like multiple wins against Denzel Perryman. So again, that's something that never made sense to me. And I think he's in the USFL now, I think. Someone tagged us in that.
He's ago. With the it's not Bernard. It's like a B name team. It's Birmingham? Clearly not a good. Sure, that sounds about right.
Like Binghamton or something. Sorry, that was a name.
I have no idea.
Tyler, did you tweet out a picture of a chocolate donut earlier?
Okay, so yeah, I tweeted out a chocolate donut because it looked like the donut that we got from Randy's Donuts. There's a bunch of assorted donuts. The big chocolate donut looked like a dong. And so when they put up the hype video of Khalil Mack, it looked like a very, happy human being. And I was like, that's how happy I am. But then some people took offense to it and I deleted it. The end.
That hype video was crazy though, man. It was awesome. So I guess we can talk about, Khalil Mack's introductory press conference today. Had a couple fun nuggets in there. Of course, confirming, or at least semi-confirming what we had heard, is that Jay Rodgers is going back to coaching the defensive tackles. We talked about this on last show. And Giff Smith will be coaching the outside linebackers. So that was a fun takeaway. I did think it was really funny when he kind of was asked about like his expectations for the year. Okay, so Bobby Holly is now on the Birmingham Stallions. Shout out Thomas Martinez. But I did think it was funny when he acknowledged that he is aware of like the narratives surrounding him, that he's kind of washed, that he's too injured, that he's got like all these things going on. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to bet on myself every day. So I'm really excited about this, man. Also need that sweatshirt to be made available ASAP. That thing is fire. But I'm really excited to see what Khalil is going to do for this team. And as Super Dude points out in the chat, he's all business, man. And I think he's super motivated to come in and prove people wrong and, be a great addition to this team and really kind of a tone setter that the defensive line really needed. Like, I love Joey Bosa and everything like that. I don't necessarily think he's like a tone setter. And I think Khalil Mack is going to be that for the Chargers.
It's just fantastic. And even the injury concerns, the Chargers did such a good job of getting their players healthy by the end of the year. And they play in Los Angeles, not in Chicago. And all that's going to be so good for them. The Khalil Mack press conference, we have two of the best edge rushers in the league. And boy, they act like the most calm, chill dudes. I'm probably like Joey Bosa is kind of like goofy. Khalil Mack's like, I don't like to talk all that much. And they're going to be the two best edge rushers in the league next year, or two of them at least. It's crazy. Like I love listening to him talk because he's just a presence, even though he's quiet. And on the field, he's going to tear it up. We did a film, or Gavino did a film breakdown yesterday that I got to basically just watch. And just watching him be able to do everything, any different variety of pass rush moves, but also win against the run. Just a fantastic player. It's something, Chandler Nwosu would just never have reached that point. Like, he just wouldn't have. Very good ascending player, but he never would have reached that point. So I can't wait to see what he does when he's healthy with Joey Bosa, with Brandon Staley, half with Giff Smith, half Jade Rodgers. It sounded like it was a mix more than just a one position coach thing. Yeah. So we'll see, but I'm just very, very happy that he's on the team, obviously.
Yeah, my favorite part with the Mac thing is like, I feel like the Raiders fans, like, I feel like when they traded him away, like they also loved him. Like they were like, oh, Khalil's still our guy and all that. Now he's with the Chargers, like the whole narrative is flipped. Like he's washed. He's not the same player he used to be. Even though he's like, his numbers, his PFF grade, his PFF WAR have been in the top 6, top 8 for the past like 8 years, except the 1 year he got hurt. Another funny like narrative is going to be like who's the best edge rusher, like edge rushing duo in the NFL. You have Bosa and Mack, and then now you have Chandler Jones and Max Crosby. And like, I mean, I would think Bosa and Mack are better. I mean, both of them are pretty much top 5 guys at their position, and Crosby and Jones are like top 10, top 15. That's just me, but a lot of fun narratives. A lot of fun narratives with the Mac signing, and like I really do like how he's a humble guy. Like that, it kind of goes along with like Herbert and Bosa and like a lot of other people on the team.
Yeah, we do have a guilty as charged group me for our Patreon supporters, and Kevin Kernick was having some fun because I guess one of the former Raiders players a couple of weeks ago after the Khalil Mack trade went down, he was like, I'll still take Max and Yannick any day. And then Yannick gets traded to the Colts like a week later. So that was really funny too. Like there's just no way. I think Max and Chandler Jones can make it interesting. I mean, Chandler is one of the most underrated players of our generation. And I think, him getting a running mate like Crosby is going to be really good for his career too. So, I think he's borderline on the Hall of Fame in terms of his statistics right now. So that's going to be interesting to watch, and kind of circling back to the right tackle thing. But, I think, I was watching some Sebastian Joseph Day film last night, and, we've kind of talked about this a little bit, but I mean, now you have Joseph Day and Austin Johnson, and Joey's good against the run, and Khalil Mack is good against the run. And it really has become like a very underrated part of trading for Khalil Mack is what this is going to do for the run defense. And I happen to see, Next Gen Stats tweeted out that the difference between the Bears run defense when he was on and off the field last year was almost like a full yard and a half, very similar to like what Justin Jones was doing for the Chargers. So now you have all of these guys up front who can control the line of scrimmage and set the edge and get tackles for loss. Like, I think it really is just going to be a very well-rounded trade. As Khalil said today, he's like, I'm aiming to be a complete player again and get back to what, his form was before he got injured.
Yeah, it's nasty. And even if like they did focus more on run stuffers on the interior, like Austin Johnson, Sebastian Joseph Day, they can get it after the pass, sure. But those guys are stopping the run first and foremost. And
yeah,
it's okay because then you got Khalil Mack and who can play the run, but you can find your pass rush there. Like you want to have interior push, sure. I'm sure they will find ways to blitz Murray, Tranquil, and all that like they've done before. And again, Austin Johnson was top 10 in pass rush win rate or whatever it was, or pressures or sacks or whatever it was among our free agents. So, and he can get it. But even if they're focusing on the run, sure, but they got Khalil Mack to also supplement the pass as well, or the pass rush. So they're set up, man. It's a crazy group. And like I said, I tweeted out, I think they're done. Like to me, this group is kind of they're stuck. I think they're stuck with the interior guys that they have. Edge rusher 3, I think they have to get. I really think they're the 5 guys on the interior are kind of set. I don't know what else they can do other than bring in a 7th round pick who competes with Joe Gaziano, which could happen. Cortez Broughton was a 7th round pick and they could do that, but I think they're kind of stuck with the 5 guys they have. And at least as far as 4 of them go with, the 3 starters in Fehoko, I'm okay with that. Gaziano, I think, could be replaced a little bit, but I sort of like the group that they have.
So you mean stuck like financially?
Basically, yeah. Like they don't have that second. They're stuck probably drafting tackle and at 17 at this point. You got to find edge 3, which you can't take nose tackle before that. Probably going to get a legit wide receiver 3. Might need a right guard. All these other things. Like it's going to be like a day 3, 7th round undrafted free agent guy. Like they're kind of stuck. So I think that the guys that they have are the guys that they're stuck with, and 4 of them I feel pretty good about.
I in terms of stopping the run, 100%. I think you're looking at the 2 additions and Braden Fehoko. Like that's a legitimate run stopping unit. And one of the things that I really liked watching yesterday was, the I don't know if Staley did this really as much with the Rams, but Raheem Morris would kind of put a jumbo package out there at times where we'd have essentially 4 defensive tackles and then Leonard Floyd as the 5th defensive lineman. So that's going to be interesting to see if the Chargers can kind of do something similar there with the guys they have. But I think with Austin Johnson and Sebastian Joseph Day and Braden Fehoko, who we know kind of was training for being a rotational piece across the line, like all 3 of those guys can play nose, 1, 3 tech, 4 eye. And so that gives them a good amount of versatility. I think they can absolutely draft somebody. I'm not saying they'll do it in the first round, but in the 3rd round, if like a Josh Pascal is there or a Matthew Butler or something like that, I think that could make some sense. As Chris B points out, I think Justin Jones at this point might be a possibility, just based off of how the interior defensive line market has been kind of painting out. But that really, like, financially wise, I can definitely see what you're saying. And Justin Jones is probably the only like roster, like free agency addition that they can make at this position. But I mean, if they wanted to go get Akeem Hicks, I think I would not be opposed there still.
Yeah. Or just get a right tackle. It sucks. There's so many things I think they can do, but it's like,
yeah,
holy crap, right tackle is so bad right now.
Yeah, no, there's definitely still holes I think they need to fill, but I mean, I'm interested to see how the next 2 days play out until the weekend. I mean, that's when the majority of the deals are going to go down, and like there are some Chargers free agents still left to resign and bring back. Obviously, with Ibushi being kind of like the headliner, since everyone's kind of penciled him in as the right guard for next year, so kind of need to get that taken care of. But I tweeted about it today. Like I actually am not as opposed to a Joey Bosa restructure as I was, even though like I still think they have space to make the moves they want to make. If they restructure, say 8 to 10 mil, that free up about 5 to 6 mil in cap space this year. So that would take care of 2 contracts or 3 maybe, depending on like how much depth they want to get. Craig brought up a really good. I really think like Matt Ioannidis could be like the final the final
Oh man.
crystal for Thanos's like the glove. Like that would be a great way to end. That would be a great way. And I think he's better than Jones. And he has less volume on that Washington D line. I mean, that would be really fun to get.
And Daniel Popper pointed out that after the game against Washington in week 1, Brandon Staley had some really strong praise for Matt Ioannidis too. So he was somebody I mentioned as a potential cut candidate they could target, a couple months ago when I did that whole thing. But, I would not be opposed. And if it's the same cost as Justin Jones, then like by all means, I think you can't really go wrong either way there. But my point being is that the Chargers do need like another 4-eye, 3-tech kind of pass rushing kind of player besides just Jerry Tillery. Like, who could certainly, kind of see a bump in production with these guys along the defensive line, but they do need another body to rush the passer along the defensive line. And Sebastian Joseph Day and Austin Johnson can do it, but it's obviously not their forte. I think you kind of want them focusing on stopping the run.
And real quick before we move on to another topic, I mean, look, people have been asking about bringing Kyzir White back on here and like on Twitter. Without giving too much away, I'll say this: like the linebacker market is like really weird right now because Alua Khan got 15 mil from the Jags, but the Jags kind of just overpaid for everyone, or like they had to overpay because like no one really wants to go play for Jacksonville. So like teams aren't really like taking like Jacksonville's contracts into their projections and like their contracts that they're drawing up. So now, right, we see the linebacker contracts on the market. You got Miles Jack for 2 years, 8 mil. Devondre Campbell, who pretty much had an all-pro year, go for only 10 mil, right? Josie Jewell, who missed pretty much the entire 2021, only get 5.5 a year. Jordan Hicks, I think, got 6. So like realistically, the market for Kyzir right now, if we were to bring him back, would be a 1-year deal. And it'd be something like 1 year, 5.5, 1 year, 6. I don't know what his situation is. Like, I don't know what's going on with him, but based on what the market is speaking about right now, it's really going to be a 1 or 2 year deal. So I hope that answers your question. And again, I'm not, I have to be discreet about it.
Yeah. I mean, I think
you're not really being that discreet, Arjun. Like, I kind of know what you're doing here, but
well, I think the linebacker market, like Arjun is saying, is kind of stuck right now too, because everybody's kind of waiting to see what Wagner does. And I am completely against the addition of Bobby Wagner. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like he's never played in like a Staley Fangio tree. There's no coaching connections. There's no incentive for him to go to the Chargers in terms of his, unless winning is the priority, obviously. But, it seems like he is going to want to, go to a place where he has connections, to a place where he can kind of stick it to the Seahawks. And he's also going to be really expensive. Like it does not make any sense for this team to go after an expensive linebacker. And like I tweeted out this morning, I think in general, you have like, you obviously have 2 goals in free agency, right? Like upgrade your roster. And if you can do it, you get younger. So, what really is the difference between Bobby Wagner and Kyzir White right now? Like there really isn't one in terms of production and on-field play. Kyzir obviously has the scheme familiarity. So I don't see Bobby Wagner being a fit at all. I would just rather, like Arjun saying, take that 1 year flyer contract, if you will, or prove it deal for Kyzir White or kind of what happens there. But unless it's Kyzir, I don't really see them making a free agent linebacker addition. I know that Denny Trevathan was released today. I know that Nick Kwiatkowski, or however you say, was released today, but I just don't see it, man. Like, I think they're going to attack that position through the draft again, maybe add some competition that way, but they want to see what they have in Kenneth Murray. They like Drew Tranquil. They like Eamon Ogbongbemiga. They like Nick Neiman. I just don't see a free agent linebacker coming here.
Yeah, no, me neither. Again, it would have to be, if it were one of those linebackers from the Bears, it would have to be extremely cheap, and Staley would have to be like, I need that guy. He's going to play over Tranquil. I have to have this guy.
Sure.
I can't work without it. because otherwise I just don't see it. And I don't see Staley doing like I don't see him saying that. I don't see Telesco being able to find a way to get a guy for that cheap. For some reason, Eamon Ogbongbemiga's name keeps getting brought up. Like I think they're legitimately happy with the 4 they have. The 2 starters, they love Eamon. People are anyone you talk to, your interview with the Daniel Popper, his name gets brought up all the time. I don't know what it is. No offense to him or anything, but like it's not like he played a ton. So they're seeing something there in him that we just don't get to see right now. But they're really happy with him. Yeah, Kaiser, the whole situation is so weird because you see like the first big contract, $15 million for a linebacker who basically had the
Jaguars screwed everything up, man.
Yeah. And I just thought that was like, okay, maybe the linebackers market's gonna be a little bit, higher. But then it's like, oh, Christian Kirk, oh, this guy, oh, Scherf, all these guys got like 20% higher than they should have or whatever. It's interesting because the Chargers, we've at least revealed as much. The Chargers do have interest in bringing him back, but I'm curious what like their budget would be for someone like Kaiser White. And if it's dropping to as low and as short of a deal as Arjun is saying, like we're getting to the point where this thing was very unrealistic before, but if his market is that bad and they're not finding ways to get him signed elsewhere, him being his agent or whoever is in charge, because I don't know, like there's a chance that he comes back because he said that if he were playing in the wild card game, he'd be back to full snaps. It was just a one-off thing in week 18. Now, that could have changed because that shouldn't have been a one-off thing to begin with. So right. The odds of it being another thing the next week, I could see it happening again. But the fact that the market is going down for him. It could be going from a 3-year, $8 million deal to a 1-year, 6 or something like that, or 2 years, 15 or whatever it is. Like there's something there. Like I think I didn't think he actually freaking had a shot at coming back. And again, like nobody expects him to, but it's getting to the point where he's going to be running out of options, running out of contracts. He might as well kind of run it back for himself, bet on himself again, put up another 150 tackles or whatever, and then get ditched by the Chargers again.
Gosh. And again, to be clear, like everybody keeps on tweeting at Tyler, like how dumb it seems that they are potentially not bringing Kaiser back. And it's like, we agree.
Yes,
we are on board with that idea.
It's so annoying. It's like, that's so stupid, Tyler. I'm like, it's not my thing. I'm not paying him. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Like we are on board with Kaiser White coming back. And I would have been happy giving him an extension and him being priority number 2 behind Mike Williams. Like I've said that several times, but I just think that the Chargers really like the other 4 players that they have. And, like it or not, they have to see what they have in Kenneth Murray full time. And, Daniel Popper pointed out he had like 3 ankle injuries last year. So I'm sure that affected his play. So I don't know if he's able to bounce back. Great. I'm just not expecting it. So circling back here, because we were talking about Matt Ionida. So I went and looked at his numbers and they're really freaking good, man. Like really good. This man had 34 total pressures last year, 5 sacks, and a pass rush win rate of 12.4, which was right behind Quinnen Williams and Deron Payne, his teammate. It was 25th highest in the league among defensive tackles with 20% of their pass rush reps, significantly higher in every category than Justin Jones was. Just throwing that out there.
I can't even tell you how happy it would be for me to either, depth would be cool, sure. But to be able to push Tillery off the roster almost entirely as a starter, like, how much better like things could possibly be. So, okay, how's his run defense? Like, are there any run stop rate?
I just exited, but
okay,
let me pull it back up.
Keep blotting.
Yeah, finish your thought.
Like not having to. Okay, let's say you sign him and you don't have to spend your 3rd or 4th round pick on a defensive tackle. Now Jerry Tillery is your pass rusher 3. Oh my God, that'd be so nice.
Your ideal 4 pretty much is what Jerry Tillery's role.
Yeah, and that would be great. And you use him on stunts if needed, twist, whatever you got to do. Block some field goals and all that good stuff. You have any of the numbers in front of you?
Yeah, so run stops. Scrolling down, he's not in the top 50 in run stops.
What just rate?
Yeah, I'm just looking. Hold on.
He's
All right,
behind
there we go.
Fajardo.
So he was 54th in the league in run stops with 16. His run stop percentage was 7%. So
That's
let me
better than
see.
Jerry Tillery at 4.7, I think.
Yeah.
Is he in the top 75 or 100?
Yeah. So his 7% run stop is 70th in the league.
That's 52 higher than Jerry Tillery, I'm pretty sure. So that's almost, you just doubled. Fantastic.
So he would be a legitimate upgrade. And so I don't know, man. Like, I think they could certainly sign another player there if they really wanted to, and then just completely, overhaul your defensive line group and just wreck shit. But I don't know. We'll see. So we'll take some questions here. We'll mention some players we want to see signed really quickly. So if you have any questions, let us know in the chat. Use the super chat feature if you do feel so inclined. We always really appreciate that. So Arjun, 2 players you want to see the Chargers sign over the next couple days.
So I'll take the freebie. I'm gonna take Ode Ibushi. Need to see him back in Chargers powder blue. And then Cordell Patterson. I really want to see. Like RB2 is still a big need, and you would fill RB2, kicker returner, punt returner, and then you don't have to worry about Roberts either, who probably has a decent market. Like later next week.
Yeah, coming off the highs of all these excellent big moves, I'm realizing that there's a bunch of crap on this roster that needs to get figured out.
Yeah.
Like the other 20 other positions, some of them starters. But whatever. Okay, so as far as 2 signings that I would want, you didn't ask me, but I'm assuming that was the next thing. Geez. I mean, I'm praying for Dennis Kelly at this point. Like, that's $1.5 million. You got to spend it. You have to do something. I don't care if you're confident in Trey Pipkins. Storm Norton is terrible. He's not good backup. I'm sorry. Everyone says that he's good depth. No, being the second worst in the league at something is not good depth. Like Jerry Tillery would be good depth, but at least he can kind of rush the passer. Storm Norton is a bad, awful starter as a pass blocker. Unfortunately, like I feel bad, but he gave up 60 pressures and 9 sacks and got absolutely destroyed in that final game. And that's part of the reason they lost so many games. Sorry, Storm. You're welcome on the show anytime. But I just that's not good depth. Bad player is not good depth.
Yeah.
So Dennis Kelly, fine. Like just check that box for me. I don't want to see them have to go to 17 and go after, again, Bernard Raymond, Daniel Falele, Darian Kennard. I like these guys, not at 17. That's ridiculous. Of course, if they trade back, that'd be great. Ode Ibushi seems like an easy one, and it is. But Ode Ibushi, like, what are we doing? Get this thing done. I guess fine. Okay, like he got, Anderson took a whole week for him to get re-signed last year, but like Questenberry's gone. I don't know why our guard or centers, backup guys end up going to the Texans for whatever reason. I think it was Cole Toner last year. But I need Ibushi back. Like they can't let a guy who's going to cost $1.5 million, who's top 20 at his position pretty easily, to walk out the door. Like it's right there. And I hope they don't blow it. I really hope they don't.
Does the vet minimum go up if you re-sign with a team?
It doesn't matter. It's based on accrued years. So like,
okay,
it doesn't matter if you leave or resign. It's like 3 to 5 is the same, then 6+ and 7+ and 8+.
So if he was 1.5 last year, then that would be increased this year.
Ibushi?
Yeah.
So last year was probably like 7th or something, right? He's
I
probably at like.
I think it was year 9.
Oh, okay, yeah, he might be like a little bit higher. He might be like 1.8 or like.
Still, it's not a ton.
It's worth.
I was just curious.
Yeah, it's worth.
No, I think that definitely is something that needs to happen. I wish it would have already happened. He wants to stick around and he wants to be on this team, and he really likes Sean Surratt and he really likes being with these guys. So I think that needs to happen. I think one of the signings that I want to see happen in the next couple of days too is that edge 3 spot. I don't think that Chris Rumpf is ready for that, and I don't think that a rookie would be ready for that. So I think getting somebody like a Lorenzo Carter, who Staley spoke very highly of, He might be a little too costly at this point, kind of, if especially if they're going after a right tackle potentially. But he's not exactly going to be super expensive. And then Tack McKinley would be my other choice there. Somebody that had a really high pass rush win rate for the Cleveland Browns. I think it was like 17%. Really effective as like a third edge rusher. So one of those two.
Nice.
There's another name that I think is on that could potentially make sense for right tackle. And that's Tyro Crosby. I know he had the back injury that kept him out all of last year, but he had two really good seasons before that. I know. But this is where I'm at with the right tackle, man. Like, I think the potential of signing Tyro Crosby and it working out means that you have like a good, at least average starter at right tackle, and potentially could be, here for 1 or 2 seasons. I think if you are talking yourself into Dennis Kelly, like, I'm not throwing shade or anything like that, but he's never been a starter. So I think I would feel a little bit more comfortable with Tyro Crosby. Of course, really good friends with Justin Herbert as well. So I don't know, just throwing that one out there. I do think ultimately it will be Kelly or Billy Turner.
Fine. Just check the box at this point.
I think Storm is fine as like OT4, but definitely not as a swing tackle. Definitely not as a starter.
OT4 is completely fine because that's OT goodbye and by August.
Because he's not holding a spot over Trey Pipkins.
Super chat from Adrian. Sorry, you're the host.
Go ahead. So his question is, why not trade back and draft a starter interior lineman like Zion Johnson or Kenyon Green? I think that's fine processing. That just probably means that you're losing O'Day. So you could certainly kind of bring him in for competition.
Yeah.
But, I think if you're drafting an interior guy, that means you are planning on O'Day not being back.
Is Kenyon Green just completely out of everyone's radar as a tackle at this point? Because his left tackle tape versus Alabama was my favorite game of his.
I know, it was really good, man. It was. I think he could play right tackle. He's got the length, he's got the size, he's got the athleticism. I would certainly rather take a chance on that than Bernard Raymond, but it does sound like, Brandon Thorne, Duke Manyweather, all these guys feel like his best position is at guard. He did start the season for A&M at guard for what it's worth, but like, again, I wouldn't be opposed there. It does seem like Zion Johnson is kind of the OG one, like he's considered the best guard at this point. I haven't been able to grade him, but I'm a fan of either of these players. I just don't know really what the solution is here, because then you have a rookie who's probably not going to be better than O'Day, and then you have a right tackle, cheap veteran signing. So yeah, I don't know. I'm a little conflicted on this one.
Okay, over under 25%. Kyler Fackrell is actually their edge 3.
Under, and I don't see why they would do it. He didn't really do anything this year, if I'm being completely honest.
But then what they got to spend the money, or they have to spend the draft capital. I'm just saying, like, they have to budget somewhere.
Yeah,
I feel like a friendly is coming back. So Cook, Fackrell, who else could be coming back? That's kind of a cheap option.
Jones. Did you mention?
Jones, yeah.
Arjun, you mentioned Cornelius Lucas, apparently, someone was saying.
Yeah, it was under Tyler's, like, who is some surprising player that no one's linked to the Chargers that will eventually be a Charger. And I was like, Cornelius Lucas for right tackle. Who wouldn't be the worst option. I mean, he hasn't really, like, started consistently. Like, he's been a swing tackle, but, like, he's graded out pretty good. And, Washington's offensive linemen aren't anything to, like, talk crap about,
Yeah, I mean, I keep on coming back to this. It's hard to be worse than Storm Norton.
I don't think he can be. No offense to Storm.
Yeah. Thomas thinks that Bernard Raymond won't go in the top 50. I wouldn't be surprised by that, but it does seem like there's a good enough amount of buzz around him that he will be, a late first, early second round pick.
I think he'll end up being, not that anyone gives a shit, a top 50 player on my board. I'm fairly positive about that, unless I love this corner or safety linebacker group. But yeah, first round, I don't know, man. It's so tough to figure out because the league just if Penning is going top 10 and the other three tackles go top 10,
Yeah,
like it's Raymond. That's it. Like that's the next guy. So man,
SoCal Slime Bernard is this year's Trey Smith. The only reason Trey Smith fell in the draft is because he had the blood clot issues. Like his tape, his traits were both first round stuff. It's just that people were really, overthinking the blood clot thing. So I don't know. That's going to be an interesting thing to watch there. But Y Newman with the super chat, guys, be optimistic. We are signing Armstead, Patterson, and Wagner.
I tend to say I'd rather be optimistic and wrong and pessimistic and right, but I avoid trying to be whatever this is.
Whatever this is.
So. Cordell Patterson, there's certainly a chance there, right? Like there's enough connections, there's a need, there's a good enough role. Like absolutely, I could see that still happening. Tehran Armstead is a left tackle. He's an elite left tackle, and he's going to get absolutely paid like an elite left tackle. So not happening. Chargers already have their elite tackle, left tackle. They do not need another one. And Tehran Armstead is not switching positions for any kind of move like that. So Armstead, no. Wagner, no. Patterson, maybe.
Depends. There's nothing happening.
I
think
this
needs to happen
also
on our live stream again.
Huh?
Something needs to happen on our live stream again.
I know we need a breaking news thing again. Any chance at Jermaine Johnson at 17, chorizo con papas? I mean, you never know, right? But Jermaine Johnson is getting like top 5 hype at this point. And I think it's deservedly so. So like this pass rushing class, I think it's just going to come down to like which flavor these teams want. But if we see, Hutchinson's obviously going to be probably the first pick at this point. That's kind of where that's trending just based off of what the Jaguars have done. I still think Kayvon Thibodeau goes top 10. And then at least one of Trevon Walker and Jermaine Johnson are also going top 10. And I think the other one probably does too. So I think there's a really good chance that we see 4 of these edge rushers go in the top 10. It seems kind of like the league is lower on David Ojabo than the consensus on social media is. So Ojabo is the one that has the chance to be there at 17, not Jermaine Johnson, in my opinion.
Yeah, Jermaine Johnson, unlike Trevor Penning, to me is justified in his top 10.
Absolutely.
Like, is it probably a reach still at that point? Yeah, but like he's arguably at least top 3 at his position group, whereas Penning, is jockeying for 4 at best. So yeah, Jermaine Johnson at 17, I don't think is going to happen at this point. I don't see them going edge. I almost see like them going for more of Ojabo at 17 than Jermaine Johnson, even though I like Johnson more. I just feel like I don't know. They kind of want that more twitchy project at this point. Man, some people are asking about players like Chris Harris Jr. being released. He's not on the team. Okoronkwo is on a different team.
Under the Texans.
Yeah.
Lots of questions about running back, Ronald Jones, the Saquon Barkley thing. That's absolutely not happening. I mentioned Marlon Mack, so I think there's a decent chance that they do sign a running back. I don't know. Ronald Jones coming back here. Tampa ran so many gap and power schemes. I don't really know if that's a scheme fit. And Ronald Jones just kind of doesn't do it for me, man. I don't know what it is there. I've never really been like a huge fan.
It's because he can't catch. But if he has positive yards last year, that's still more than Larry Roundtree.
I wish I could share that conversation I had today with that individual about Larry Roundtree.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think ultimately the Chargers probably draft a running back. I could see them taking a chance on somebody like Marlon Mack, and like I said, maybe Cordero Patterson is in play, but I think somebody like a Damian Pierce, for example, would be on their board, or like a Jerome Ford from Cincinnati, stuff like that.
Yeah, look, you guys are the draft guys. I'll stick to my contracts and free agency. So,
you're very good at that, Arjun.
Raheem Mostert signed with the Dolphins, by the way.
Expected. That might have been like the freebie on the bingo sheet, It
was only a 1-year, $3 million deal. I mean, he was hurt a lot, so.
Yeah, that seems fine, I guess. I don't know. Can we just go back to the old undrafted free agent outperforms draft pick thing that we've been doing in the Telesco era? Like, let's just get back to that. Let's find the Newsome, the Oliver, who's the other? Oh, Eckler, obviously. Let's go find those guys. But we have no 7th round picks.
Yeah, we have 4 7th round picks to mess with. They can find a running back with one of those.
Can they?
I don't know, man. I feel like this running back class is good enough where they can find somebody. Just like spin a board and throw a dart, and then there's your guy. It's hard to be worse than what we had with Larry Roundtree and Josh Kelly last year.
Yeah, I'm gonna have my dog just pick out of a basket of cards, and just whatever that one is probably gonna be better than Roundtree.
Why do people think that Melvin Gordon is coming back? I've seen this comment. I've seen people tweet about it. The Chargers aren't doing that. There's no way Melvin Gordon would come back here, and that just should not happen at all. I don't get it.
Might as well just have Eric Weddle come back and play depth.
Yeah. Okay. One player I don't want to see back outside of Chris Harris Jr. No offense, Chris. Great career. Ty Long, just find an upgraded punter.
Yeah.
There's this really fun Twitter page called Puntalytics, which is like punt analytics. They did like some really funny threads today about like tiers of punters. Ty Long was the lowest tier by himself, and his tier was like tender only because it's the Chargers. So
dang.
That's
well, they didn't tender him, so
yeah,
that's good news.
Well, they only did it for free agents, so obviously, like he's he's free agent right now, but you just not good.
Yeah, someone Newman brings up Hecker, who's supposedly going to be released by the Rams. Looked up his stats. Not that I know anything about punting, but they're basically just Ty Longs, and sometimes worse. It's might as well be the same thing. Like, unless he's somehow a better holder, it's kind of the same thing.
Apparently, Ty Long is a fantastic holder. So,
and is he like? Are we sure?
I don't know. Thomas Martinez said that NFL Rums is the person.
There it is.
Listen, do not follow this account. If you are following NFL Rums, do not follow him. He just throws random shit.
Or her.
I don't know if it's her.
No, only a guy's that stupid.
But he said that the Chargers were going to go after Zach Ertz too. Like, hello. Unfollow that person. Block that person. Don't waste your time.
Jeez. Yeah, no, he's. Then again, he has like 30,000 followers, so maybe we're all doing the wrong thing over here.
It's so dumb. He never credits people either.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like half of our Chargers YouTube. Arjun.
You didn't have to do this.
All right. Well, I feel like that's a good spot to stop. So we'll see if the Chargers make any kind of moves over the next couple days. So if they do make anything big, we will, of course, have an emergency podcast and let you guys know. But until then, we'll probably go live on Saturday as well. Maybe do a Q&A. So stay tuned for that one. As always, if you are listening to the audio version of this, please leave us a rating or a review. If you are watching this, please, when you're done watching, like the video, leave us a comment, subscribe to the channel. We had a good amount of new subscribers to the channel because of the JC Jackson giveaway we are doing. So if you missed that, then go check that out on our Twitter page. Just scroll down. I'm sure enough people have retweeted it for you to find. And then anyone who is interested in joining our March Madness challenge through Patreon, please go check that out. The link to our Patreon page is in the description of this video. Lots of good ways to interact with us there. And we are doing a Khalil Mack jersey giveaway for whoever wins our March Madness challenge. So go enter that one. So Tyler, Arjun, thanks for joining me. Next time, Alex will be back as well. And we're going to have some fun with it. So that's going to do it for us today, guys. We'll see you next time. And as always, bolt up.